Hello everyone, I want to show you guys this poleaxe that I just finished polishing today. So I have posted a couple of videos of the forging process that I went through to build this. Now when we say forging, basically we mean blacksmithing. Okay, so I put this in a hot fire, got it up to a temperature where the iron is almost like clay, not exactly, but almost, where you can basically shape it by hammering it over an anvil. Okay, so usually with pole arms, right, there's two common designs. One is the halberd, okay, which is basically the head is a single piece, and it comes down on the shaft the same way like a shovel comes down on the shaft. Okay, so it's a single piece with a socket that comes down the shaft, and then you put a rivet through it to attach it to the shaft. So the poleaxe has a two-head design. So basically the axe, right, this piece here that goes horizontal is held in place by the vertical top spike. I'll show you a this is an early prototype that I made in the experimentation process while I was learning to forge. So basically that's your top spike, okay, and this is your axe head, right? Right. And what happens is this comes down and it locks this in place, and then this, basically gets attached to the shaft, and then you put a rivet here, and that's how this is held together. And then what I have is these are called langets here. So as you can see here, it's really hard to see because I have polished it and smoothed it down so that you can barely tell where the separation is. Get behind the camera. So you can see how the top spike comes down and it rivets into place. The langets are attached directly to the shaft, and it's held in place by these two steel rivets here, right? So these aren't these aren't aluminum, these aren't brass, these are steel, really hard, strong rivets. And I know this because initially I had tried out a different head on this, and then I went through the process of grinding them out and putting this one in, and that was a lot of work to get those rivets out. So I can tell you guys, they don't come out easy. The thing with the steel rivets is when you hammer them in, right? Basically, you put them in through one side, and then you mushroom the head on the other side. Well, it's not just the top of the back side of the rivet that mushrooms out, but also the shaft in between, right? Between the two, that also thickens up. So it's actually held in place on both sides of the steel. So these are extremely strong rivets. I doubt I could swing this thing hard enough to ever break this thing. The langets over here, okay, if you look on different historical pieces, sometimes you do see them of different sizes. The way I constructed these langets here, these are about 1/8 of an inch thick on each side, right? So each of these langets here, right, on the side of wood is basically as thick as the axe head itself, okay? And then you can see I made the hammer on the back side over here. And obviously, well, one of the things that I learned from this project is the first thing you want to do is create your top spike, okay? Because again, there was a lot of experimentation to figure out how to make this. So the top spike is what holds everything together. So you make your top spike first, okay? And now you make your head here that's going to fit inside it. And the reason why is these two pieces need to fit together, and then those two pieces need to fit on the shaft. So there's a lot of back and forth here of trying to get these pieces to mate up, okay? So what I did here is the way I constructed it, because a lot of times with the poleaxes, the langets are kind of like an afterthought where they're looking to just protect the shaft. And I was looking to do a lot more than that. I wanted this to be a primary hitting surface, right? So that's why I made these a full 1/8 thick. So if this thing hits here, it's basically hitting with an 1/8 of an inch of steel on both sides. Basically, it's a 1/4 inch of steel. And this thing has no give. I mean, if I push down on this and try to push, like, there is absolutely, no give with this thing. Okay, everything I swing goes straight into that, into that barrel there. There's no give at all. So this is extremely strong. Now, originally, I had made the langets the same width as the shaft down here, which is about 1.5 inches. So the langets over here were 1.5 inches, and I had tested out, and it was just basically, it was very top heavy. Not so top heavy that I couldn't swing it, but basically I couldn't pull it back, right? Because I want to be able to hold this thing, all right? I want to be able to hold this thing, swing it, and be able to bring it back, okay? All right, so I want to be able to swing, right, and recover, okay? I want to be able to go to that side, come to this side, go to that side, go to, I want to be able to hold it from the end here and make a relatively quick recovery. Okay, so that was the goal. I mean, the goal was to build a fighting axe. So this thing is not designed to chop wood, okay? This is designed to hit people with in armor, okay? So hence you got the hammer in the back, because most of the time I think I'd want to be hitting with this side with the hammer. The axe head, again, I did give it an edge, but it's not like a fine edge like you're gonna cut paper or anything, right? It's got an edge. Again, that edge is more for a concentration of power. And lots of times you'll see these axe heads, they've got like a curve on it or something. I actually wanted these points here. Okay, I wanted these points because these points are a primary contact area. So if I swing it to the ground, right, that point, I'm not so much hitting with this part here. I'm hitting with this part here. I'm hitting with that corner to basically, really dig into. Now I'd be using this side against an opponent that's wearing mail. Okay, so mail, is a series of these links. So hitting somebody with this corner here, yeah, that's gonna really concentrate a lot of force. Either here or here. That's gonna hurt a lot. Again, which is not to say that if you didn't hit them on this side, that wouldn't hurt. But we're concentrating the impact on these corners when we're hitting with the axe head. Okay, but if somebody's wearing plate, what a lot of times if they got plate armor, a lot of times this can't. Even though like I'm not sliding the barrel. If you come in at a slight angle, I mean it is really easy to get a glancing shot if you're hitting with the axe. So this side over here. Is a lot more effective against plate armor. There's a much better chance that this is going to impact it better and it's going to transfer force. Okay, so this side here, the hammer side, that's for plate armor. This side over here, that's for mail armor. And if somebody's not wearing armor, it doesn't matter what you hit them with. It's going to do the same thing. Now I do also have a very serviceable top spike. So the way I did is I made this side over here very, much thicker and stiffer, and this side over here I brought it to an edge. So this has a really good, slicing surface. Okay, and also the way I made this is, if I'm hitting somebody with the hammer, right? Because of the way this thing curves back, basically the hammer is able to hit. And it reduces the chance of the top spike also hitting because it's curved back, and what that does is it puts more a more concentrated impact force on that hammer side over here. Okay, versus on this side over here, we're looking to concentrate the force basically on that corner there. So if you against somebody that's a male, whether you hit here or you hit here, I mean it's gonna again you're not gonna cut through the mail with this. But it's going to really concentrate that force and do a lot of damage into the body through that mail, okay? So, and like I said, the langets here, the way I've designed them, where each side is about 1/8 of an inch thick. I mean, that's a primary hitting surface. So even you can see that actually transfers more force, okay? These langets hit a lot harder than this, just because there's just so much mass here, and when you hit this, you know, the head just keeps going. There's a lot of force on these langets. So, like I said, originally the way I had done this, I had made these a full a full inch and a half wide, same width as the shaft down here, and it was just way overkill. So there's plenty of impact on these langets, you know, when you're hitting. Okay. Now, what I've done with this design is, as you see, it tapers down. First of all, it tapers here, right? So as it goes out, it tapers in, and then of course it tapers this way. So it's basically a spear. It essentially comes to a spear point, kind of like, you know, like a spear or glaive. So if I was to take this head out, right? In fact, if I was to remove the entire head here, right? Remove the axe and remove the top spike. Let's say these rivets broke and this thing came completely off. The langets here are riveted to the shaft, so this by itself is still a very formidable weapon. Okay, so this by itself is essentially a speed glaive. It's going to be a lot faster because now you don't have all this extra weight up here. But there's certain advantages to having this extra stuff up here. You know, basically you have depth, right, where you can reach past stuff. You're able to hook. So what I wanted to do is I wanted the benefits of a glaive, right? But I wanted the extra utility of having an axe and a spear. Okay, so this kind of combines everything, combines everything into this one weapon. Now, if I were to make this again, I would probably go with a slightly smaller axe head, and I would probably go with a straight top spike. Okay, because just as a means to further reduce the weight on this. Okay, because again, this thing is hitting like a freight train over there. So for a tournament style of fight, right, where, you know, a medieval tournament style of fight, you really, I mean, this is just way overkill. So I can just go with a slightly lighter head, just go with a simple top spike, and that would be enough. Now, if I was intending this to go on a battlefield, right, I would actually want a little bit more mass here, because on a battlefield, one of the great things about an axe head, it's a great way to take out opposing cavalry, opposing horses, right? And how do you kill a war horse? I mean, if you try to stab it through the body, the horse is not going to die right away. I mean, you're essentially trying to get the horse to bleed out, and now you got a horse that's really angry at you, and the guy on top of the horse is also really angry at you. So from what I've seen, and I think there's a reference to it in the Bayeux Tapestry, where you use the axe to hit the horse right between the eyes, basically, and that's a good way to just drop the horse. Okay, so that's a reason to have an axe head here, and that's the reason why I think I would want to have a bigger axe head versus a smaller axe head. Right? If I was going to be opposing horses, yeah, we want a little bit more weight up here, because now we're not just trying to take out a 250-pound man, we're trying to take out a 1,500-pound horse. Okay, but I designed this, because this is a specialized weapon for dueling. Basically, this is a dueling weapon, and it needs to be fast. I want a fast weapon, and this is reasonably fast. I can get I'm able to recover this. I can hold this from the end. I can attack both. I can basically attack this way. I can attack off to this side, recover, right? I mean, if I choke up on it, now I have a really fast weapon, right? If I grab it from the middle, okay. But if I'm playing for maximum reach, now I need a fairly light head. So the next time I do this, I think I'm going to experiment with even I think I might go with a double hammer. Basically, I might do this on both sides and do a top spike. I think that would be kind of like an ideal dueling weapon. Okay, this is the first one I've made, and again, I didn't know how thin I could go here, and for this to still be extremely rigid. Like, I can't even budge this thing. Like, this thing has absolutely no give. Like zero. This thing has zero give as I pull on it. Now, if you notice here, these side langets, right, which are about 1/8 of an inch, they come down to about here, right? All right, and then from here down, I have another set of side langets that come down, okay? So these are much thinner, okay? So if that's 1/8, these are about maybe like 1/16. And then I also like grind, you know, basically I grind them down a little bit to make them even thinner towards the back, okay? So what the reason why, because I was considering not putting this on here. The original that I'm kind of using this as a, that I'm using as a reference point, it did have langets going all the way down. I'll post an image of the original, which is in the Wallace collection. So I did make some changes to it from the original. Like I changed the axe head to suit my needs, right? I wanted a little bit, you know, I wanted these corners here. I experimented with this, although I think with the next one I would just go with a simple spike. But the reason why I ended up going with these langets all the way down is because this stick was, by the way, this is oak. Because this oak is only, I think it's like 3/4 of an inch thick. Even though it was extremely rigid up here, right, where I had the langets, if I held this and pushed down over here, or I hit really hard here, I could feel like there was a little bit of give back here, okay? So simply by putting these langets here, right, which are only 1/16 of an inch after I hammered them down, this has made this shaft extremely strong, okay? So for just a tiny little bit of extra weight, I've got a much stronger shaft at the back end. And of course, I've put an end cap over here. A lot of times people refer to this as a butt spike. Now, most of the historical pieces that I have seen don't have an actual spike. They have an end cap. And the reason is, I think it's kind of obvious, because if I'm holding this like this and I'm swinging, if that's a pointy spike, I mean, there's a good chance I'm going to gut myself, right, as I'm swinging with this thing. You know, so yeah, that's the reason why I wouldn't actually want this pointy. But this is, again, this is 1/8 of an inch solid steel over here. So as far as hitting, this is a really solid hitting surface. Okay, so you know, this is, you know, so basically this entire thing is a hitting surface, right? Because I can hit with this. I can actually, you know, you can hit like this, right? Because again, this end cap comes all the way to the edge over here, right? So you could actually hit like this, come back, hit with that side over there. You know, I can thrust. You know, I got the benefit of the slice here because of the way I designed this, and I actually gave it an edge. So you know, if you got a top spike that is actually a spike, I mean, yeah, that's going to be a better thruster. For this one, I mean, it can thrust. It's not going to thrust like through mail as nicely as a top spike, but it's got a good point of concentration here, and I do retain a cutting edge over here, and of course I got the axe head over here. So this is, you know, here's the thing. I'll tell you guys the story of why I decided to make this thing. I was at Penzic, which is a medieval camping fighting event near Pittsburgh. It happens once a year, and they had some pole arms. You know, they had some steel pole arms available for sale, and there was one that was like $300. And I looked at it, and all it was is, and again, I'm not criticizing, right? I'm just saying that the design was they just took like a square tube, and they welded an axe, you know, basically what apparently a blade on the front and a hammer on the back. They just kind of welded it together, and you know, gave it a polish, and they said, here you go, you know, put it on top of a shaft, and said, here you go, $300. So that was not, I mean, it would have been very serviceable, but it wasn't constructed like a true poleaxe. Okay, So that one was $300, right? And then I saw another one that was constructed the way I've constructed this one, okay? But they wanted $1,500 for it, right? $1,500, and here's the thing: I didn't like the way, although it was like built correctly, as far as the way everything was attached, you know, the way everything was forged and attached. I didn't like the dimensions. First of all, it was really short, and way overbuilt. So it was short and overbuilt. It actually felt more like a pickaxe that you would use to, beat the dirt in the ground to dig a hole. Okay, so it didn't feel like a fighting axe. It felt like like a dirt tool. Okay, so I'm like, you know what? I think I can do better, right? I understand the design of this. You know, I've worked enough with metals. All I had to do was basically, build a forge. So I started off by building a forge out of brick, and then I got a propane forge, which was pretty cheap. I posted a video on that. It was like only $130, but then you got to put the refractory cement in it, which is like another $40. So basically, you're looking at about a $200 investment. And then the tools are about another $50, right? Because you need something to grab the hot steel with. So it ended up being like a $250 investment in tools between the forge and the blacksmithing tools. Right? I had hammers. I had something that I could use as an anvil, basically, some steel plates and a railroad track. Okay, so I had something I could use as I had something for a hammer. I had something for an anvil. So I just needed the oven basically, and the tongs to hold the hot metal, and for the $250 that I spent, I mean, I can crank out as many of these as I want now, right? And every time I build one, I mean, it's a learning experience. Every time I build one, I do better. I think the first time I built the head, I probably spent like 3 hours working on it, and it turned into a complete garbage. And then the next time, hold on, do I have it here? No, I don't have it. This is the second head that I built, right? Right. This is the second one, and I tried this other design for making the hammer in the back, and the reason this is broken is because I was testing it on those barrels over there. So this was a serviceable design, but it wasn't a very strong design. It still held. I mean, it's something that you could still use to win a fight with. The fact that these things bent out a little bit more didn't stop this from being effective. It didn't snap. Okay, so this piece of crap here by itself was plenty strong. I mean, I beat this barrel to death over here, and this thing wasn't breaking. It really wasn't deforming, other than the hammer back here. So this one over here probably took me about 2 hours to make, and then this one over here, I got done, I think, within 30 minutes, right? Because again, I'm over that learning curve at this point where I know what I'm doing. I know how to work with the fire. I know how to work with the steel. So like these guys here, I can bang out pretty quickly. So I already have an idea for the next one that I want to do. So anyway, I'm going to include some video of the process that I went to build this thing, and some video of the testing that I did to get to where I'm at. Let's put this down. I'll include some video of the testing, some of I think it was the earlier testing with the one that I bent over there. I've got some video footage from that, but really happy with this. So this is a fun project. I've always wanted a poleaxe, and let me tell you, like I said, this is on par with the one I sold for $1,500, and I think it's a much better one. It's a much better. First of all, it's much more nimble. It's got, it's a lot quicker. So the nice thing about building it is that you can build it to exactly the way that you want it, to exactly the way that you fight. making the spike over there. You see how this still has legs over here, right? So I can open up these legs later on. So I'm not making the legs stick together. I'm keeping them apart over here. So then I can make the curve like you see here. Be hardening and then tempering the top spike and the axe head. Okay. So the steel's already been normalized a bunch of times because I've been working on it. I made it hot, let it cool down. It's already happened a bunch of times. So now we're just going to go straight into this bucket of water here. So the steel's red hot. Here we go. First time doing this, I actually expected the water to like shooting into the air. So we're gonna put this back in the fire now because then now we wanna temper it. Because right now, this will be very brittle. Okay, so if I hit it against something, there's a good chance it will crack. So we're gonna heat it up until it's just blue. Okay, I can slice that. Let me get the other piece also done. We're just doing the blade part. We're not doing this part here. And I'm also going to do the back side, the hammer side. Let that get red hot on the hammer side and then we'll quench that. While that's happening, we're going to temper this part. Now I'm just going to get this hot just to the point of blue. And then we're going to let it air dry. Quench the Alright, so we'll cool down the hammer part. You can see this part here is still glowing red. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to we're gonna get this kind of bluish, and then we're gonna let it The reason why I removed this is because I don't want the heat rising up and ruining my valves. All right, so next step, I want to put these two pieces together. We're going to put you in the vise. Actually, let me turn that back on. I want to get that a little bit hotter. And then we're going to hammer that into this position here. That should be hot enough. All right, so we're going to put because as you can see here, I have this tapered, right? It does come up to the taper. Well, I can also taper it this way because given that this is like almost 1/8 of an inch of steel over here on the side on these langets, it doesn't need to be like 1.5 inches wide. I can taper this down to maybe 3/4 of an inch, or at least an inch. So if I taper this down this way, right, cut it down this way, that could reduce a bit of the weight. Okay, but I still managed to get this in under 5 pounds, and that includes an end cap over here, which is also came out to be about 1/8 of an inch. I have it filed down over here so I can grip it from the end over here. So it's, I guess it's a little bit shorter than 6 foot. Okay, but this is a really good length. I mean, this is a weight where I can hold this at the end and swing this around. Okay. So I already tested. Let's take a couple of good whacks at this barrel. I'll switch lefty here so you guys can see it. That's what the axe head. Okay. I'll switch to the hammer side now. So I did harden this, and I also tempered it. So to harden it, I think I made it red hot, quenched it, and then what I did is I got it like blue hot, and then I let it air cool. That's how I tempered it. This spike is very serviceable. Okay. And then you got your butt spike over here. So one of the reasons why, we call it a butt spike, but I didn't want to actually make this a spike. And from what I can tell in the historical pieces, actual spikes were not that common. The problem with having a butt spike there is, if I swing down like this, I mean, I can gut myself. So it's preferable not to have a pointy spike on this end over here, pointing towards my stomach. Okay, so yeah, that's why I went with the end cap, which is basically it's smashing surface. It's like a mace. I mean, anybody you hit with anything. And these steel drums over here, they're probably about the thickness of the type of armor that you'll be wearing, right? Because the difference was that it was hardened and it was tempered, so it's not going to bend as much as these barrels. But this is probably a good a good indication of, you know, the type of armor that this would be hitting. Let's do this. I put this vise on here for extra weight to kind of hold the barrel in place. Flip it around this way. Practice one of my signature shots. So this is a very serviceable weapon. Okay, like I said, it came in at 5 pounds, and it's holding really. I mean, nothing's moving. I mean, I had hammered it down before I ran the steel rivets through here. And actually, before I put this head on, I had this head, so I had to remove these rivets. And let me tell you, I've never really worked with steel rivets before, but they are tough, man. They are hard to get out once you get them, and I had to grind them down. And even after I grinded them down from both sides, I had to put a pin in there and basically bang them out. And it still took a lot of effort. So once these steel rivets go in there, I mean, they're staying in there. They're not like the aluminum or the copper ones that we're used to using.